My name is Nicolas Kisic Aguirre. I'm Peruvian, but I currently live in Boston. And that's where I'm finishing my master's at MIT. I'm going to talk this afternoon, about sound. And I'm really interested in sound because it is very powerful, not necessarily in a musical sense, but also, for example, sound can be used as a weapon. When the presentation loads, we'll see some pictures about it. But sound is very, so it's very powerful because it can be used as a weapon, for example, in situations like this one, where this policeman is carrying not a gun, he's not carrying something that shoots other things that sound. This is called a long-range acoustic device, and it's meant to expel super high-pitched and very loud, extremely loud sound to crowds of protesters, for example. That's probably what this police was going to do after this picture, or he was doing while this picture was taken in Toronto. So there's other examples of sound being used as a weapon. This aircraft is capable of supersonic speed, and when that happens, a sonic boom, which is extremely loud, is generated. And the sonic boom has been used not long ago in the Middle East, for example, to keep entire populations during days and days under non-lethal attack. So that's what when many people say it's non-lethal, it's better than killing, but it's actually very damaging. And in the battlefield, sound has been used. There's a history of sound being used as a weapon, not necessarily always to damage directly with sound, but for example, these guys, they are called the Ghost Army. They were a secret division in World War II from United States, and they were a bunch of artists and designers, and they were not really soldiers, and their mission was to trick the Nazis into confusion and to make them think, for example, that the enemy was bigger somewhere else, etc. So that's what they did with sound. And they would trick the Nazis to thinking that the enemy was somewhere else, for example. This guy here is in South Korea. He's finishing some details in a huge sound tower that the South Korean military would deploy along the border with North Korea. And they would start blasting sound that would, cross the border. Nobody crossed the border but the sound, and it would reach the closest villages in North Korea, and they would start blasting propaganda and even a little bit of K-pop. And probably because of the K-pop, North Korea started replying with fire. It's a no-go. So, this image is very typical from North Korea, where they have these demonstrations of military might. And these marches make me think also on this power, within this power of sound and the power of rhythm specifically. The coordination of so many units, of sources of sound. Think about the sound of the march, and think how that can intimidate and how can that reveal some sort of message. And percussion is not really new in the military either. Like the drums have been known to be used to mark the military marching, but also other uses. These guys were called the drumming boys, and they were essential in the North American Civil War, where in the battlefield where it was really difficult to communicate with speech, or where you didn't want other people to understand what you were trying to deliver as a message, drumming would be the tool. So these guys would drum different patterns, and they would tell their troops to go somewhere else, or to attack, or to retreat. And of course, that was not invented in the United States. I mean, the use of drums in warfare, in a way. These are Ashanti war drums that were notable, or are notable, in trying to scare the enemy, because when you scratch the surface with a special tool, they recreate the sound of a roar of a leopard. So they would hide behind the bushes and strike. So you would think there's a leopard there, you just go. You don't attack. Also in Africa and in many other places, drumming in ceremonial percussion in ceremonial and ritual activities has been super powerful. And it has been demonstrated that rhythmic drumming is capable of driving groups of people into altered states of consciousness. It's very powerful. Now, when African slaves arrived to Peru, they were forbidden to use their drums because they would talk with the drums, they would communicate with the drums. So African slaves in Peru were very smart and very intelligent to grab the wooden boxes that were used to transport fruits and vegetables, like crates, and they would start using it as a percussion instrument. It's the cajon is this instrument where you sit on top and you just drum, you just play the rhythms that you want. So it's a very simple tool, a very simple weapon also in a way. Nowadays it's also a very popular musical instrument, the Peruvian cajon. Peruvian cajon now brings people together. It continues to bring people together around Peru, and it does so nowadays also in public space. Now you have to think in the situation in Peru where African slaves would communicate using drums instead of speech because speech was forbidden. One has to think that, of course, the level of complexity of the communication is lower, but the level of oppression is so high that you need to go to other tools. Anyways, the use of percussion and drumming in public space also leads me to other situations of protest. This one in particular in Montreal, where this very simple weapon, again, pans, pots, and wooden spoons, would end up making super high levels of noise. And they would contest also the noise that the police was trying to do with their batons, trying to intimidate the protesters. It's very powerful in a political sense. Now, to try to continue exploring, researching, continue asking myself questions about the power of rhythm, the power of percussion, the power of drumming, I created this machine. It's a modular rhythm machine, that's how I call it. It's here with us on stage, and towards the end it's going to make a little performance. It's made out of relatively small, you can see them here, 2 units, modules, and equipped with it's a tool, right? It's an instrument. So I thought that it had to be as versatile as possible, and it had to reach all of the possibilities that I wanted in the future without really knowing exactly what I wanted it to do. So it has a sensor for proximity. It has a drumstick attached to one motor. In this case, it has 2 drumsticks. This is a new thing I did for today. It has a membrane that's made out of wood, similar to the cajon, and it has like a resonance chamber. And of course, it also has this triangular shape because you can stack them together, and this triangular shape is very good in delivering the charges. It's like a structural thing. It has some other connections so that you can connect them in many different ways, shapes, etc. So it's modular. I can make more. Anybody of you can also make them because the plans and everything is online. It's like an open source project, and so I can make more. I can make 100 if I want, and I can join them, although it's a lot of work. And I can also bring a smaller group, like tonight, like this afternoon here, and I can arrange them in different ways. I had the chance to present the Modular Rhythm Machine in MIT for the first time with an experiment I called experiment number 1 because it was the first experiment. So that's me again with my funky glasses, and that's all of the people that were saying, what is this guy doing? And that's what was happening. Okay, so this is just like a 15-second extract of an 8-minute piece that was experiment number 1, where it started really slowly, and then it ended in a super chaotic moment. And I was just trying to explore and understand what was the difference between only one single drum playing or multiple drums playing at the same time, what happened between coordination and chaos, etc. It didn't lead me to many answers, but it led me to many other questions, which is the most important. And most recently, I was in the month of September in Austria, in a festival called Ars Electronica. It was an amazing experience because I set up the whole machine there. I made that, by the way, I made 36 modules. And I set up the whole machine there, and all the sensors were constantly trying to detect the proximity of people. The higher the amount of people in front of the machine would start going crazy, you know. And in the end, it started working as an alarm system or detection system, you know, where the machine would give a different pattern according to the amount of people in front of it. When I go back to MIT, I'm going to set the machine up in the MIT Museum. And that's another opportunity, and I'm very happy for it. And I'm going to try to explore percussion, rhythm, and the possibility of encoding messages and crypto message, cryptophony, I call it, but I'm not really sure if that's a word. And for tonight, 8 of these units have come all the way, and I prepared a small but intense performance, so I hope you can enjoy it.